Welcome to Lines and Logic, where we break down core sports betting concepts that help you craft an edge. Today, you're going to learn about the hidden tax that exists inside every sports betting line that you see. I'll teach you how to find it and how to recognize when it's costing you more than you think. The vigorish is the sportsbook's built in profit margin. It's baked right into the odds. So whether you win or lose any particular individual bet, over the long run, the book is still designed to take your money. First, let's look at a bet that doesn't have vigorish. Let's say you see an NFL point spread. Chicago Bears, the 3.5 point favorite at plus 100, and the Green Bay Packers, the 3.5 point underdog, also at plus 100. Now, in general, sportsbooks offer odds on a point spread like this so that 50% of the time, one side will win, and 50% of the time, the other side will win. So, in a vig free world, fair odds would be plus 100 on both sides. You bet 100, you win 100. Using the odds to probability conversion formula we learned in earlier episodes, that math checks out. Plus 100 odds means a 50% probability of winning. Now let's take a look at the VIG in action. The standard pricing on an NFL spread at a retail sportsbook is typically minus 110 odds. But at minus 110, you have to risk $110 to win $100. That extra $10, that's the VIG, the sportsbook's baked in profit margin. That's the book's edge over you, the bettor, on every bet you make. Let's do the math. Now, if you're not familiar with our odds to probability conversion formula, go check out some of my earlier episodes. Here you can see the odds of minus 110 imply that there's a 52.38% chance of the Bears or Packers covering a 3.5 point spread. But we also know that point spreads are typically true 50-50 propositions. So, how is it possible that a 50-50 bet shows a 52.38% chance of winning? That doesn't seem right, does it? The amount of vigorish you're paying to the sports book on any given bet really matters because at minus 110 odds, your break even point is winning 52.38% of all wagers, not just 50%. Now, that sounds small, but over hundreds or thousands of bets, it's the difference between being a winning bettor or a losing bettor. Here's another way to think about it. For any bet you're making, your edge has to be greater than the vigorish you're paying, or it won't be profitable over the long run. If you don't consistently find bets where your true probability of winning beats the built in house vigorish, you're not beating the book. You're just feeding it your money. Now, we break down these concepts every week on Lines and Logic. Hit that subscribe button if you're serious about sharpening your edge, and let's keep building your advantage. Now, you're about to learn how to figure out the amount of vigorish on any bet. Here's how you do it. The next time you open up your sportsbook app, you can actually measure the vig yourself. Step one is to find the implied probability for both sides of a bet. Step two is to then add those two probabilities together. Let's take a look at how you do that. For step one, first we'll start with the Chicago Bears, the favorite. 3.5 point spread at minus 110 odds. Using our formula, that implies a win probability of about 52.38%. Now let's look at the Packers. For the Packers, a 3.5 point underdog, also at minus 110 odds, that also implies a probability of 52.38%. Step two is to add these probabilities together. 52.38% plus 52.38% equals 104.76%. Wait a second. How can something be more than 100% likely to happen? That extra 4.76% is, you guessed it, the sportsbook's VIG, their built in profit margin, ensuring they have an edge over you on every bet you make, no matter what happens. Armed with this knowledge, I promise you, you will never look at your Sportsbooks app the same way ever again. The first thing you'll notice is VIG varies by market. Some markets have higher VIGs, markets like player props. Same game parlays are notorious for having high vigorish, and exotic bets on things like table tennis. Some sharper markets, like major sports sides and totals, like the NFL bet we've been looking at, or like the NHL or NBA, tend to have lower vigorish. In a few moments, I'll share with you the secret hack you can use to immediately spot an exorbitantly high rate of vigorish. But for now, let's look at how the sportsbook's edge increases as prices get wider and the vig goes up. If both sides are priced at minus 115, the implied probability for each side is about 53.49%. 53.49% plus 53.49% is 106.98%. That's a nearly 7% house edge. Now, if both sides are minus 120, the implied probability for each side is 54.55%. Add those two sides together, and you get 109.1%. That is a 9.1% margin. That's a bigger house edge than triple zero roulette at the casino. Now, higher vigorish doesn't immediately mean you're looking at a bad bet, but what it does mean is that the edge you're betting has to be large enough to offset that massive house advantage. And now for that hack on sizing up the vigorish. We're going to use something called market width, a fast way to estimate how much vig a sports book is charging you. Market width just means this: how far apart are the odds on both sides of the bet? Here's the trick: just add the last two digits of the lines you're seeing. So for minus 110 odds, we'd add 10 plus 10 and get 20. Minus 115, we'd add 15 and 15 to get 30. Minus 120, we'd add 20 and 20 to get 40. Anything over a market width of 30 should set off some alarm bells. You're facing a pretty big house advantage. And a market width over 40, that's really tough to beat over the long run. You can take these wider markets on, but when you do, you better have a substantial edge. When sports books have less confidence in a market they're offering, they'll often ratchet up the amount of VIG they're charging. Spotting this VIG and how much it's costing you is one of the first steps to betting smarter. You just learned why sports books are so hard to beat. The VIG stacks the odds against you. Next episode, you'll learn how sportsbooks decide what the odds are going to be. And once you understand that concept, you're ready to start looking for bets with edge. Hit subscribe, tap that bell, and stay sharp. We'll see you next time.